Welcome back to part 4 of my CloudLogin.Dev Playmaker integration, and we're going to take a look at store items now. Now, there's no way in-game to create a store item. That wouldn't really make sense. So from your game's dashboard on CloudLogin.Dev, you would need to create the items for your store. As you can see here, I have all sorts of different items, as well as 3 different types of categories. I have different fruit, I have vegetables, and then I have clothing. And so the items have names, they have cost, and they have item IDs. If one day you don't want an item to be available in your store anymore, you can just click delete. All right, but it's going to permanently remove it from your store. All right, so let's take a look in my Unity project about how we can now access the store. All right, so here we are in the store, and I have all my items set up in this. I think I have a grid layout group here. Store grid, yeah, I got a nice grid layout group here. Pretty handy to use these to keep things organized in UI. And so I have all my different store items. I also have a button here to get player inventory. Let's see, is that correct? Yeah, there we go. That's the right thing. Yeah, there's my get inventory button. All right, so one thing that's nice is you have the ability to get the player's inventory, but it stores it as an array. Originally, it was set up to, you can do it as a list, but since I know most users are going to be using Playmaker, obviously with my Playmaker integration, I changed it to where it gets it as an array instead. That way, because I want to make it as simple as possible without you needing to get like the array maker toolkit that supports lists and all that. So I just store it as an array to make it simpler so you need less add-ons. So what this button does, this get inventory button, I click it, and it gets the entire, first it's going to clear the array that I already have saved, just in case you've already used the get inventory button before. And then it's going to resize the array to 0. And then it's going to go to CloudLogin.Dev, get player purchased items, and it's going to store it into the inventory array. Now this player hasn't purchased any items. We can go to this game user. We can see that my character is cat. I have 100 credits, but I have no purchased store items. So let's buy a store item. In my store, all my items cost 10. They don't have to. You can adjust that on your game page. Let's buy some broccoli. All right, I'm gonna click broccoli. And what I did in my demo scene is I made it to where once you buy something, you can't buy it again because that's how CloudLogin.Dev is set up. Currently, there is no way to set quantities in the store. So once you own an item from the store, that's it. But there's all sorts of ways you can still utilize this in your game. Because what this will do is you can save that you have that item, okay? But then maybe you store a separate variable, maybe an attribute for quantity. If this piece doesn't really work for you, if you need to have a different way to adjust the quantity, you can always use custom player attributes as well. This would be things like if you have like unique items that you need from the game, like keys or a special weapon, stuff like that. So as you saw, when I clicked on broccoli, it subtracted 10 credits from me and it updated my inventory. So there's a lot of different things that happen here. So I'm going to go to my store grid. So what happened when I clicked on broccoli? So what we do is on the start, we're waiting for a button click. When the button is clicked, we go to the purchase event. Okay, the purchase event is then coming over here to the purchase state. And then it's going up to the CloudLogin.Dev purchase store item. You need to have the item ID. You're not purchasing by name, which is simple enough. You just go to your CloudLogin.Dev page. And from the CloudLogin.Dev page, you would just find the item that you need. All right, it's item number 24. It's pretty easy to remember too, because if you're doing things in order when you're setting up your FSMs, you can see that the item IDs increment by 1. But if you have multiple games, it's not going to start at item ID 1. In fact, I'm not sure if it's just for your user or if it goes across all. I'm not quite sure how the item IDs are created. But when I created item IDs for my store, as you can see, they were all increments of 1. And so it makes it fairly simple to keep track of what your IDs are. All right, and so it does a Cloud Dev login purchase item. All important, we have a success event and a failed event. If for some reason it doesn't work, we have a failure event, and it's going to come back here, makes it easier for debugging, and then we have a success event. If we have a success event, it's now going to make this broccoli button no longer usable because we know that we can't buy more than one of an item from the store. And then it's going to activate in this inventory label my broccoli. So over here, I have my player inventory. It's also a grid layout group. And I already had all the possible inventory items set up as a grid, and I just activate the broccoli one, and so it shows up. So it's not actually getting my inventory from the cloud. It's just once the purchase was successful, it's just activating it over here. And then what happens? Then what happens is we get our credits now because we just spent some credits. So let's get our new credit total. And then we're going to print the credit total onto the screen here. Just like that. So we built the string and then we set this UI text. All right. And that's how we use store items. I don't have a way to sell an item, but I do have an action for that. We can take a look at that real quick. So if I wanted to just, I don't know, we can just take a look at the actions here. We'll just look at the action browser. That opened up on my other screen for some reason. There we go. All right, and if we just close that out, we can go down to, where you at? CloudLogin.Dev. Get credits, player attributes, get player purchased items, get score, stores array, user info, purchased store item, remove player attribute. Here we go. CloudLogin.Dev, remove store item from player. So when an item is used, you would use this action. And we can just bring it down here to look at it, but you can kind of see the preview. It's very simple. You just put the item ID that you want to remove. When you're in game, probably once you're creating your FSMs, a good tip would be probably create these as variables, maybe even global variables. That way you don't have to keep track of all the item IDs. You can just have a variable called broccoli and make it an integer variable and just have it automatically have your store ID so you don't forget about it. All right, so that wraps up part 4, and I think that's it for CloudLogin.Dev. We didn't cover every single action that's available here. The rest of them are pretty straightforward. If you ever look for a different type of action, reach out to me. I can see if it's something that we have the functionality to do with CloudLogin.Dev, and I'll try to create the action. And I'll continue to update it on itch. And if it's not a feature, then I already have a pretty good rapport with the developer of CloudLogin.Dev, and I'll put in a feature request with him if it's something that we don't have the ability to do. All right, thank you for watching this 4-part series on how to use my CloudLogin.Dev Playmaker integration. I've had requests to go back and revisit my pun series. The last bit we did on the pun series was a capture the flag game, and someone had requested that we go into it more, like how we would capture the score, display a scoreboard, and all that jazz. So that's what we're going to take a look at next time. Stay tuned.